Hello students, welcome to iExamB and embrace the iExamB learning experience. Students, I have started a series with respect to the Companies Act, जो कि chapter wise revision of the Companies Act है और उससे related अभी तक I have come up with 3 parts. Okay, this video is the 4th part of that particular series wherein I'll be moving ahead with a further discussion with respect to the further chapters that are there and which are important from the exam point of view. In case आप में से किसी का भी miss out हो गया to watch those 3 previous parts of this particular series, then you can go to the description of this video wherein you will find the link of the previous 3 parts. Before we move ahead with our today's discussion, let me remind you over here that do remember to subscribe to our channel and press on the bell icon so that you can stay tuned and stay updated. Now moving ahead with our today's discussion, as I already mentioned, ये chapter wise revision of Companies Act से related series है and this is the part 4 of the series. Now moving ahead with this part, today in this part we will be taking up the management and administration which is provided under chapter 7. So management and administration again a crucial aspect है with respect to the well functioning of the business, with respect to the entire business being run in a very proper manner. So management and administration is a crucial part with respect to that. So Companies Act is laying down certain provisions which have to be taken into care with respect to the management and administration of the company. सबसे पहले section 88 हम देखेंगे जो कि basically provide कर रहा है कि company will be going ahead and maintaining register and that register it has to be maintained with respect to who all members, debenture holders and any other security holders. अब ये जो register वो maintain करेगी company उसमें index भी होने चाहिए of the names and all. With respect to that, it has been provided that if the number of members is lesser than 50, then in that case the index is not required in the register. So register will be having index of name which will be entered in the respective registers, but it is not necessary if the number of members is lesser than what? 50. Now, जो entries होगी register में that has to be done within a period of 7 days from when after the board or the committee that is approving the allotment or transfer of the shares, debenture, etc. Now, meetings of the members, that is very important topic from the exam point of view. मतलब आपके किसी भी competitive law exams में ये portion जो है बहुत important होता है जो कि meetings of members है. तो अगर मैं meetings of member बोलूँ तो क्या बातें आपके दिमाग में आएगी? I'm sure it must be AGM. AGM क्या हो गया? Annual General Meeting which the company has to go ahead and held annually, and then we have the EGM. That is Extraordinary General Meeting. That is basically called if some urgent matter is required to be discussed by the companies. Now ये जो meeting of members है इसमें अगर हम Annual General Meeting की बात करें तो section 96 is laying down the provisions with respect to that. Annual General Meeting as we already saw it has to be held annually, but annually ये कब held होगा ये भी provided है. Now if we talk about AGM which all companies has to go ahead and hold the AGM, तो every company will be holding the AGM. यहाँ पे exception की category में अपना OPC आता है, that is 1% company. अब ये जो AGM conduct की जाएगी, hold की जाएगी company के द्वारा, ये कितने दिनों में conduct होनी चाहिए, hold होनी चाहिए, that is very important from the exam point of view. If we talk about that, तो पहला AGM जो है 9 months में होना चाहिए from the date of closing of the first financial year, और जो भी subsequent AGMs होगा within 6 months of the closing होगा. यहाँ पे 3 months का extension ROC provide कर सकती है if satisfied with the reasons and all. Maximum gap दो AGM के बीच का जो होगा वो 15 months का होगा. यहाँ again 3 months का relaxation provided है. अब ये जो AGM conduct की जाएगी there has to be certain time, place and all which has to be taken into consideration. ठीक है, so it has to be held during the business hours and it could be any day but it should not be a national holiday. कहाँ किया जाएगा? किसी कॉफी शॉप में कर सकते हो आप क्या? नहीं, कंपनीज एक्ट बोलता है कि आपको रजिस्टर्ड ऑफिस पे करना है या फिर it could be some other place within the city, town, etc. where the registered office of the company is situated. Unlisted company है तो anywhere हो सकता है इंडिया में, but for that there has to be a consent in writing of all the members. So these are very important provisions with respect to AGM. EGM जो है Extraordinary General Meeting है जो कि urgent matters को discuss करने के लिए hold किया जाता है, for which basically the company cannot go ahead and wait till the AGM to be held. Now this EGM that can be basically called by the board on its own, the suo motu you can say. It could be by the requisition of eligible members to the board that EGM आप conduct करो, hold करो, and requisitionists they themselves can go ahead if in case the board fails to call the EGM. अब EGM के लिए जो requisition दिया जाएगा that can be given by the members who are actually holding 1/10 of the paid up capital. So in in case of the company which is having share capital, those who are holding 1/10 of the paid up capital, and if the company is not having share capital, उस केस में members जिनके पास 1/10 of the total voting powers है, they have the right that they can go ahead and make a requisition to the company. Now the board will be going ahead and calling the meeting within 21 days from the requisition, and that meeting needs to be conducted within 45 days. अगर board जो है does not go ahead, calls the meeting within 21 days or does not hold it within 45 days, in that case the requisitionists, they have the right that they can go ahead and conduct that meeting themselves within 3 months from when? From the date of requisition, and that they can do when the board basically fails to go ahead and do the same. Now, with respect to the notice of the meeting, so notice and all is very important. The meeting कब होगी, कहाँ होगी, what all matters are to be discussed. All these things are very important with respect to the conduct of the meeting. If we talk about the notice period, that has to be 21 days and 14 days होगा Section 8 के companies के case में. तो Section 8 companies कौन सी है? You can mention in the comment box of this particular video. Mode of notice क्या होगा? It could be writing or electronic mode. Shorter notice भी permissible है if in case of AGM 95% of the members who are entitled to vote they agree to that, and in case of other general meeting share capital है तो those who are actually having 95% of the paid up capital, and if the company is not having share capital, those who are having 95% of the total voting powers. And notice will also specify, as I mentioned you, time, place, date, the business that has to be transacted or discussed or matters that have to be discussed over there, all that has to be specified. अब ये notice किसको दी जाएगी? Members को तो दी ही जाएगी कंपनी के, legal representatives को, insolvent member है तो उनके assignee को, auditors and every director of the company. Now quorum for the meeting. What is quorum? Quorum आप कह सकते हो वो minimum number of members जो कि required है, उनका presence required है meeting में for the meeting to be a valid one. The minimum number of members who are required to be present in the meeting, which will make a meeting a valid one. So अगर public company है, so there are certain requirements with respect to the minimum number. You can see over here, if not more than 1,000 members है, तो 5 members जो personally present है, that will be the quorum. If the number of members is more than 1,000 but up to 5,000, 15 members personally present, and if the number of members is more than 5,000, 30 members जो है personally present होंगे तो वो quorum होगा. Private company के cases में 2 members personally present will be quorum. अब ऐसा भी हो सकता है ये जो quorum requirement prescribed है in the Companies Act, that is not present within say half an hour, okay, from the time appointed. उस केस में meeting adjourned हो जाएगा and at least 3 days notice that will be given for the adjourned meeting. अगर adjourned meeting में भी quorum नहीं है तो जो भी members present होंगे उनको ही quorum consider किया जाएगा और meeting conduct की जाएगी. Proxies are who? Basically they are those persons who will be going and attending the meeting on behalf of the members. तो जो भी members entitled होते हैं कि वो attend कर सके और vote कर सके meeting में, उनके पास ये right है that they can appoint any other person to act as a proxy. So proxy के कुछ rights है, कुछ restrictions है that are there. So they do not have the right to speak. They are not entitled to vote. Then they can act only for the members not exceeding 50 and holding aggregate of not more than 10% of the total share capital of the company which is carrying voting rights. So this is the requirement with respect to the appointment of proxy for the members, but there is a limit which is provided, and proxy to be valid if it is received 48 hours before the meeting. Chapter 8 की अगर हम बात करें, that is talking about the declaration and payment of dividend. What dividend is, if we talk about, you can say it is the profit of the company. क्या है ये? Profit of the company है जो कि कंपनी नहीं रिटेन करती है खुद के पास और डिस्ट्रीब्यूट कर देती है शेयर होल्डर्स के बीच में, या फिर आप कह सकते हो वो पार्ट ऑफ द प्रॉफिट जो कि कंपनी डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करती है अपने शेयर होल्डर्स के बीच में. बिकॉज वॉट एवर प्रॉफिट इज अर्न बाय द कंपनी, इट इज नॉट द केस दैट द इंटायर प्रॉफिट इज रिटेन्ड बाय द कंपनी फॉर इट्स ग्रोथ, एक्सपेंशन एंड अदर वर्क. अ पार्ट ऑफ दैट प्रॉफिट इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड बाय द कंपनी अमंग इट्स शेयर होल्डर्स, एंड दैट पार्ट विच इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड अमंग द शेयर होल्डर्स, that is known as dividend. So dividend defined in section 2 clause 35 में profit of the company not retained in the business distributed among the shareholders in proportion to the amount paid up on the shares which are held by them. This dividend also includes interim dividend. So types of dividend में interim dividend होता है, final dividend होता है. Interim dividend जो है during the financial year that is basically paid. If we talk about the final dividend, means a dividend which is declared at the AGM. तो AGM पे जो dividend declare करती है कंपनी, वो उसकी final dividend declaration होती है. See, one thing important over here is declaration of dividend is not mandatory by the Companies Act. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको dividend distribute करना ही है. That's not a mandatory provision with respect to the companies. But once you have gone ahead and if you have declared the dividend, you have to ensure that you are going ahead and paying that. Okay? Then it becomes mandatory once you have declared it. Then from the Companies Act section, somebody will be looking on to some of the important provisions with respect to declaration of dividend. So कहाँ से ये dividend declare किया जाएगा? Out of बोल दीजिए या फिर post बोल दीजिए. So basically it has to be from the current year profit जो होगा वो या accumulated profit, but that has to be there after depreciation. इन दोनों से भी हो सकता है. And government से receive किया गया कोई भी money, if you can say by way of guarantee and all, that can also be used. अगर कंपनी के पास जो current year profit है वो inadequate है या absent है, तो क्या कंपनी डिक्लेयर कर सकती है dividend? Yes, in that case also the company can do out of its free reserves and all. But then वहाँ पे कुछ certain requirements है जो कि comply करना होगा. Wherein it is mentioned जो dividend rate होगा आपका वो less than होना चाहिए आपका average rate of the last 3 years. जो भी amount आप draw करोगे reserve से वो lesser होना चाहिए 1/10 of what paid up or reserve जो भी आपका है वहाँ उस amount जो है पहले जो draw किया जाएगा उसको use किया जाएगा set off करने के लिए loss जो भी है current year का before any equity dividend and all that is declared, and after that particular withdrawal the reserve balance that should not be lesser than 15% of the paid up capital. So ये provisions को comply करना है, then you can go ahead and distribute dividend even if the current year profit is inadequate or absent. कहाँ से interim dividend pay किया जा सकता है? Out of the profit and loss account या फिर profit जो भी financial year का है for which that particular company is going ahead to declare the dividend, and profit जो भी generate होगा financial year में till the quarter which is preceding the date of declaration. So these are, you can say, the ways in which interim dividend can be declared. Then amount of dividend जो है scheduled bank में 5 days के अंदर from the date of declaration deposit कर देनी है. It could be payable in either of these ways. So there is an unpaid dividend account. In this unpaid dividend account जो भी unpaid या unclaimed dividend है within 30 days from the very date of declaration, that has to be transferred to this particular account within 7 days. So once the dividend has been declared, it is required to be paid to the shareholders. But in case if it is unpaid or unclaimed within 30 days of declaration, then in that case it has to be transferred to this account within 7 days of the expiry of that 30 days. अगर कंपनी डिफॉल्ट करती है तो 12% इंटरेस्ट भी पे करना होगा. अगर ये अनपेड डिविडेंड अकाउंट में जो ट्रांसफर किया गया अमाउंट वो अनपेड रह जाती है फॉर 7 years, तो उस केस में उसको IEPF में ट्रांसफर किया जाएगा. दैट इज इन्वेस्टर्स एजुकेशन एंड प्रोटेक्शन फंड. सेक्शन 125 is laying down the provisions with respect to IEPF, which mentions promoting the investors awareness and also protecting their interest. Central government constitute करेगी an authority which will be administrating, taking care of the fund, and this particular authority will be consisting of chairperson, other members जो कि 7 से exceed नहीं करने चाहिए, and chief executive officer. जो भी accounts होगा fund का वो controller and auditor general that basically audit करेगी, and committee for recommending the IEP activities will be constituting of executive director of SEBI, 2 other officials of SEBI, and 5 other members, those who are having expertise in securities market and all. So with this we come to an end of our discussion of part 4 with respect to chapter wise revision of the Companies Act, the important provisions with respect to the various competitive law exams. Do remember to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned so that you can stay updated and make your preparations 50% faster with us at iExamB.